Well, I suppose now it's the hardest part, isn't it? When the end appears to be in sight, but actually it's nowhere close. I mean, you can understand, can't you? Here we are in Oudenburgh, and the centre of armour making is all behind us, back in Brussels and Bruges and Antwerp and Mechelin. We've completed the larger part of our purchases, and so now all that lies ahead of us is the coast road to Dunkirk and to Calais, and all that lies between us here on the coast and home are the narrow seas. It's so close I could almost reach out and touch it. But of course, it's not real, is it? It's an illusion. That proximity, the end is nowhere in sight. We've got another week, really, before we reach Calais, and then we have a week to get everything in order in Calais, in the great storehouse there, and finish all our preparations in order that we can get it all down to Guines, to where it needs to be for the King's triumph. And then there's the King's triumph, which is, well, they say, going to take 2-3 weeks before all that's completed, and then we have to take it all back again as well, the larger part back to England. So any prospect of end really is, as I say, illusory. No, I know. I'm perhaps in my cups and a little maudlin. You're real enough, right? I'm real enough. This tavern is real enough. Dickon, Rafe, Hans, they're all real enough. No, he's real enough. I'll get him over. Hans, come on over and... Hans? Would you believe it? Where the When you come to think about it, there is much about the King's triumph which is not quite as it seems. For example, we have two kings, right? Both alike in dignity, but not related in any wise. Moreover, two kings who have fought a war against each other, and whose countries have fought wars against each other time almost out of mind. And yet, in a few weeks' time, they will meet and they will swear to each other that they are brothers and that they are united in a mutual desire for peace. There is something that is not quite as it seems. Moreover, they will mark that peace with a war, in all but name. For what is a joust if it is not, as it were, an illusion of battle? The god of Mars smiles, no doubt, on such feats of arms as are undertaken with lances and swords and such like things, and yet it is not a war, it is an illusion, it is not as it seems. Moreover, and here I am warming, forgive me, to my theme, all of this will take place in a damp field. I do not know if you know it, between Guines and Ardes, but it is the middle of nowhere. It has been in the thoughts of precisely no one. Through all of time, I suspect, apart from those lowly peasants who have the misfortune to try and eke a living from it. And yet, in a few weeks' time, it will be, as it were, a garden of earthly delights, covered with cloth of gold and cloth of silver, and filled with song and music and dance and masking and feasting, and of course the dukes and earls and barons of half of Christendom who will frolic and gamble and disport themselves in that self-same spot that those peasants have been farming for so many a long year. And is not that, therefore, something that is not quite as it seems? Parts of that, of course, are quite substantial, and yet they are not real. So, I hear tell that the French king is having a banqueting house built, and that will raise its head so high, like the Tower of Babel, they say, towering there, 3 stories and more, and yet in a few weeks' time it will be gone. Not to be outdone, my King Henry has likewise undertaken the construction of a palace. I do not mean a painting of a palace or some illusion of a palace, an actual palace, which in many ways resembles the palaces he has back in England, in size and in aspect. The foundations, well enough, are stone and brickwork and glass, but the larger part of it, that is made out of canvas and of wood. And they are having painters brought over in order to paint the canvas and the wood so it looks as though it is a real palace. And the people that they are having do that are the Office of the Revels, and the Office of the Revels is that part of the king's household which undertakes masques and theatre and such entertainments for the king, and the palace therefore is part of their work. It is all illusion. So these things are none of them quite as they seem, but I would say that there are certain parts of the king's triumph which cannot but be real, and I mean those parts which are my business. For the king's armoury must be real, in the same wise that the king's armour and the armour of the knights and the swords that they use must be real. No canvas or wood will suffice. So, we are bringing over, in ships, a little like the king's palace is being brought over in parts in ships, the king's glazing mill. There was nothing that sufficed near enough, and so we decided to bring the whole thing over. We are dismantling the whole of the building. It's not that old, we only built it 10 years ago. We're dismantling the building, and moreover we are bringing it over piece by piece, not only the building but also obviously the mill wheel, the two horses that drive the mill wheel, the glazing wheels, the beams, the pinions, everything that pertains to the glazing mill, in order that we may be able to glaze the king's armour, the knight's armour, so they may shine in the sun when the camp is complete and they are tilting and tourneying one with the other. Likewise, we need forges, and there are not enough in Guisnes nearby, so we are bringing over the king's forges. And they do not travel light, for we need anvils, we need hammers and stakes and pincers and tongs and files and vices. 50 wagons we will fill with the king's mill and the king's forges, and we will bring it all over and we will build it up again in or near Guisnes in order that it be close enough to the king's triumph to be of use. Those things will be real, and the roar of the furnaces will be real, and the sweat on the brow and the calluses on the hands of the armourers, those things will be real enough, my friend. Yes, indeed, I take some solace in that. And yet maybe they are illusory too. For after all of this will be up and running near enough Whitsuntide, and yet by the feast of St. John, come midsummer, it will all be gone. And mayhap the peasants, with their cabbages, when they return to their damp field, will wonder to themselves if it were all but a dream of midsummer. I know not. I know not what they may think, but I may not dream. No, I have dawdled and dallied long enough. I shall pray, methinks, to St. Dunstan. Now, he is not the patron saint of armourers, rather of blacksmiths, for he was a blacksmith. But St. Barbara's feast is too many months away, and St. Dunstan's is in a day or two. So I shall pray to him to give me God's strength, the same strength that gave him the power to take his tongs and grab the devil by the nose. Yes, indeed, for that is the strength I need to grab this devilish enterprise by the nose and see the business through. And I wish the same thing for you. May we all take our tongues and grab the devil by the nose. Cheers.